It is Monday. We are here for the weekly 76ers mailbag. Appreciate everyone tuning in. I see you joining us. Fire away with your questions. I'm going to talk a little bit about the loss in Cleveland, but let's start with the most up-to-date news. Furkan Korkmaz is injured. Injured his abductor. And will be evaluated in 2 weeks per the team. So I put out a tweet that it will be a 2-week injury, but he'll be reevaluated in 2 weeks. Let me change this background, which I don't know how it got changed, but we're back. Austin,
Also,
got
the banner.
The banner. So thoughts on Furkan's injury?
Well, hold on. The banner is still not right.
Wow, it really did change both.
Up in the Daily Dose.
I promise you I had it correct. All right, go ahead and give us your thoughts.
Well, I mean, I guess that's an explanation for why he's struggling a lot this season early on. And I think he kind of has gotten better as a playmaker off the dribble, but I mean, he's just missing a lot of wide open shots. So I think, in theory, what Furkan could be, the Sixers would miss a lot, but I mean, the production hasn't really been there that significantly yet.
Well, I think that shooters go through 3-game sample sizes with all sorts of, hot streaks, cold streaks. I don't think we can read into whether he started the season with something off. I do worry about Furkan's ability to stay in shape through an injury like this, because it's really important for him to maintain conditioning, strength, quickness, and this is exactly the kind of injury that doesn't allow you to do much, right? It's a core injury, so I think there's some concern that it'll take a little bit of time to get back into the rotation. So let's talk about last night. Give me your takeaways from last night's game. Joel Embiid, late scratch, very late. Sounds like even too late to replace him on the active roster with one of the other big men. And give me your thoughts.
Well, I'm not going to make excuses that like they didn't have Joel. Tough game. I thought the Cavaliers in general played well above their heads. They made seemingly every shot they took. They were, getting dunks. They were getting out in transition. The Sixers kind of, they got punched in the mouth and they didn't really fight back, and that was kind of the end of the game. But I just kind of thought like last night, there's not at the micro level of the Sixers, but the level at a macro level, it was just sort of a testament of kind of the randomness that we're going to be seeing this year in the NBA, with teams. It's still a very unique and unprecedented territory that we're trying to navigate this season, and teams are no exception to that. There's a lot of turnaround on the fly real quickly. I think that there's going to be nights where the Mavericks beat the Clippers by 50. The Sixers lose to the Cavs by 24. The Knicks beat the Bucks by 20. The Nets beat the Hornets, or the Nets lose to the Hornets by 2. I don't think it's. I'm not like concerned enough about the team to like go trade for James Harden off of one game. I think you needed more out of Ben last night, and I think a lot of it is like the blowover of the Eagles losing a game that they could have won or should have won, and getting eliminated from the playoffs. That carries over, and then the fans are all up in arms, and then that bleeds into the Sixers' evaluation of how they see things. But one game, but you have to get used to and find a way to win games without Joel Embiid, I think. And if this is a loss that you can sort of build on and collect data on and make yourself a lot much more prepared to play him to play without him if games, if such a thing happens and games matter. Good, whatever, loss.
So here's my take, and quite frankly, I haven't spent much time looking at other people's takeaways for the last 24 hours or so. What it tells me is this team has, because of the shortened preseason and training camp, I think this team is trying to instill an offensive philosophy built around Joel Embiid. I think they have spent the lion's share of their preparation, game planning, and walkthroughs and practices trying to build an offense around their 7-foot big man. And when you remove him from the equation offensively and defensively, I think they basically threw out the game plan, handed the ball to Ben Simmons, and said, go freelance and go make plays and just play basketball. And I think, to your point about hitting a buzzsaw a little bit with Cleveland, just feeling it, and the Sixers not really having what they needed to disrupt that. I just feel like it was one of those games where you learn how much of this team is really being built around Joel, and you realize how little time they've had to instill or install Plan B. Because they're going to need Plan B. Joel Embiid's going to miss, newsflash, of 72 games, he's going to miss, at least 10 of those games. You're going to need a Plan B. You can't go 0-10 in those games. But I think that as time goes on, you'd hope that they come up with, here's our B offense. For when he's not there, here's what we do. Doesn't sound like they had it last night.
But by the same token, how do you find time to prepare that offense for those nights?
Yeah, I think part of it is they have to, Doc so far has really tried to keep his stars together, his starters together, and his bench. There's actually not that many minutes where you have this intermingled, staggered lineup. You're seeing the starters play for 10 minutes, and then you're seeing a couple of guys go out, but pretty quickly by the end of the first quarter, all of your backups are in, right? Your 6th man through your 10th man are in. I think he's doing that to build continuity within these groupings that are playing together in practice, and build continuity or limit the amount of newness playing with different people. There just aren't that many minutes as you go through the game. There's a few minutes in the first half and a few minutes in the second half where they're intermingled, but it's pretty much that Kentucky from a few years ago. You got your starting 5, and then it's pretty much a wholesale substitution. The minutes where they do stagger the rotations are the minutes where you can build this. I think my guess is, and I haven't asked Doc about this, my guess is that they are trying to just create continuity first, and then they'll sprinkle in some of the other stuff. But it's going to have to be on the floor. It's going to have to be during those 5 or 6 minutes in each half where you have Ben Simmons out there with some different guys.
Yeah. I just think it's this season is already kind of frustrating in the sense of everything you see is after every game it's going to be okay, is this good enough to warrant not talking about trading for James Harden tonight? And it's
get used to it. Yeah. The conversations are the conversations, right? Narratives get built in the first 10 games every year.
Now, and yeah, I get that. But one thing that does concern me, and again, through 3 games, Seth really hasn't been effective. Danny has been horrible pretty much. And so I think with time, with looseness, with repetition, they get more comfortable. Those shots will start to fall a little bit more. And they lose the game last night. Ben isn't that effective. Tobias is pretty good, but the shooters didn't really give you much last night. And I think with time, those shots will start to hit, and then they'll really start to grow some separation and really feel some spacing there. My concern that you compare this team to like the 17-18 team. It's just an innate natural thing because it's like the way they're built. So my thing is with Redick, it was a seamless fit. It was just like it was easy. There was no wait. There was no he needs time here. It was pretty much a seamless transition for Redick. And then I'm curious as to why with Seth Curry it isn't as simple as that.
Well, I think that's a good question, but I think that Redick is just a unique player in his ability to run guys through off-ball screens and create slivers of space. And I think we've talked about it since the Curry trade. He's not quite that kind of guy. And to me, I don't see a ton of chemistry between him and Ben Simmons yet.
No.
So there's a couple of things unless you're there are very few guys that can handle a bad pass and create space for themselves and still shoot 44% from three. It's just not real. It's not real common. So I don't know. I didn't look at Curry last night. It was 2 for 5. So he's probably close to 40% for the year right now. He'll probably stay like that, but until you get a decent sample size, it's hard to not think of every time Curry misses 2 in a row, he's in a funk. Every time he hits two in a row, he's in a hot streak. So it's just we just don't have enough information yet at all to make a judgment about Curry whatsoever. Do I see the timing yet with Simmons? No, I don't see the timing yet. Kai Carlin has joined us. Sixers Wire, USA Today's own, the best of the bunch at USA Today, in my opinion.
Oh, appreciate that.
Best of the only. Wow.
No, he's best of the bunch. They have wires in every city.
How many writers does Sixers Wire have? One?
Yeah. I learned to handle the entire site.
There we go.
It's because he wants all that revenue, all that sweet revenue himself. All right, let's talk about we talked a little bit about last night. Look, we can see by our numbers right now. I'm looking at who's watching. Day after a loss is never fun. No. But who benefits the most from Furk's injury? Who moves up in the rotation? Who gets more minutes? Is it Tyrese Maxey? And if not, who else is it? Kyle.
I think it's Matisse. I think this is Matisse's kind of shot. Doc has always mentioned that Matisse is going to get his chance. I'm pretty sure Doc didn't want this to be the reason for his chance. But, with Furkan being out, Philadelphia's going to have to turn to somebody. Tyrese will probably get a bump up in minutes, but in terms of somebody new, I think it'll be Matisse. This will be his shot to kind of crack Doc's rotation a little bit.
Yeah, I think of, and we just spent the first 10 minutes or so talking about them really trying to create a structured offense.
Yeah.
And create a starting unit and a secondary unit. And Matisse just doesn't do the things that Furkan does offensively at all. Now, he's better defensively. It's not a value judgment on which player is better, but they're really trying to install an offense, and he's not really that guy. I'm not saying that Maxey is. You probably slide Maxey and Scott up, give them part of those minutes, and then Thibault is in that period of time where you have staggered rotations, where you have part of the starters and part of the bench on.
Yeah. Nothing, how many minutes was Korkmaz averaging? 15, 17?
Yeah, I think 15 to 17 is about right.
Yeah, Matisse isn't going to play 15 to 17 minutes. If you can get it, I do think Matisse will probably soak up some of those minutes, though, maybe even half of them.
Actually, looks like about 18 and a half, 19 minutes.
Okay.
So you're probably going to give. Let's look at what Maxi's doing. He played 20 minutes last night, but that's because it was a blowout loss. So Maxi's. It looks like he's in the 10-minute range as far as like his slotted in. And I know Doc says he doesn't use a spreadsheet, but looks like he's in the 10-minute range. That may bump up to, what do you think, 14 to 16?
Yeah, probably.
Okay,
Probably.
so that's about 5 of those 20 minutes. And then you look at Scott, who is playing about 17 to 18 minutes on his slot. So does that go much higher? How much more minutes are you giving to Mike Scott? You going 24 minutes with him? Because he's probably your best catch and shoot guy to replace what Korkmaz does.
The sad part is you're not wrong. The sad part is you're probably not wrong. But I don't think you can give Mike Scott 24 minutes. I don't know how they survive with him going 24 minutes.
Maybe in the
Well, okay, let's look at Mike Scott's minutes per game. So when he first got to Philadelphia after that trade in 18-19, he played exactly 24 minutes per game. Slipped down to 18 minutes per game last year. And he's averaging 17 now. So really it comes down to, is he shooting 41% from 3, then you can play him for 24 minutes. If he's shooting 36%, then you can't.
Yeah, the way I see it is, Jason, it's like, if Mike Scott's going to shoot the ball the way he did in that 18-19 season, because I'm pretty sure he shot somewhere close to 40% from deep, if I'm not mistaken.
41.2.
Yeah, 41.2% from deep. If he's going to shoot that, then you can play him 24 minutes because he's going to knock down the 3 ball. But if he's going to shoot the way he did in 1920, where I think it was somewhere, what was it, 35%, 36%?
36.9, but it felt like a lot less.
It felt like a lot less, exactly. There were two. Does
it feel like he's shooting better this year than last year?
I feel like he's shooting better this year, for sure.
Yeah,
but
he's at 33% right now. So
that's crazy.
Yeah. I've been watching for the feet to get set to see if Jason's theory follows. I think his shots are more like set up for him to like, where he's not like he's ready to shoot. But I still think his misses are egregious. Like there are some times where he misses shots, and you're just like, you're thinking like, how the hell do you warm up and then you miscalculate the distance to the basket that much?
Right.
Well, where do you think it starts? Lower body or from the wrist out?
Yeah, tell us, shot doctor.
Well, I think there are times when like his hips kind of twist as he's shooting, which probably doesn't help. I think there are times when his knees bend inwards, which is not great, and he kind of lacks that balance. But I think his mechanics are pretty much always repetitive. But I think that he's shooters. The glorious thing about a guy like JJ Redick is that there are really no streaks. Like JJ Redick, you're going to get high volume of makes on a high volume of attempts.
Not true.
I mean,
he has streaks. We just don't think about them because when it comes out of his hand, you think it's going in. So you're always surprised when it doesn't go in. And other players, you either have, oh my gosh, what's going to happen, or you think it's going to not go in. And these are the narratives that get set. But JJ Redick has streaks just like everyone else.
Yeah, but JJ Redick is like, you can pencil him in for like a 3 of 7 game almost every night.
Again, he is rare, and yet he has plenty of 2 for 9 games. Right?
Fine. Okay, fine.
Right? And it's just when it leaves his hand, you think it's going in. Steph, when it leaves his hand, you think it's going in. They're just
Robinson is a guy that like every time he shoots it, I think it's going in.
And his shot's not even that pretty. The mechanics aren't even that great.
No, honestly, when I watch Duncan Robinson, every time he puts it up, I think it's going in. Like every time.
I think they're going to go for like I wouldn't be surprised that keep in mind no one talks about this, but they have a massive opening in their salary space next offseason, don't they? Because you know what, you don't have Horford anymore, and Danny Green's expiring.
No, it's
Yeah, I
not
don't
true.
think that.
No, they're so far over that they were near the hard cap.
Yeah.
It doesn't. They still have to move Tobias to even open up anything.
I thought.
But they'll have a full MLE next year.
There we go.
I will say this. Speaking of Tobias, the witchcraft that Daryl Morey's going to have to perform to try to get off that contract. I don't know. It's just, but unless Tobias really does like start kicking up and pouring in 20 a night on like an efficient way. I mean, I don't know how Morey's going to get off this contract.
I think what's going to happen is this. And I do have some information to back this up that I've confirmed with someone else from TPL. They're going to wait until Houston is just about had it with Harden, and they're going to see if they can get their package to stick. But I think it's going to be, and I don't know if it's going to work, but I think like Tobias shaking picks.
For Harden?
Yeah. Again, they're waiting for Houston to like, that's enough. We're
All right, so we're 3 games in.
Opening night he went for 44 and 17, and literally almost willed them to that win. I mean, if I'm the Rockets, in all honesty, I'm like, you know what? I think I can deal with your nonsense for a little bit longer. Wait for Wall and Cousins to come back, and let's see what we can do.
I just don't think so, because I think about it at a business layer. The reason you have a star like that, even though you know you're not winning a championship, they have to know they're not winning a championship, right? We all agree? Houston knows.
Oh, no, Houston's not winning now.
Okay, so now, if you're not going to win a championship, what are the 2 things you need to focus on?
Picks and assets. Young
assets and revenue. And James Harden isn't selling any more Rockets jerseys. 0 Rockets jersey. Anybody that bought a Rockets James Harden jersey for Christmas is not paying attention. And James Harden is also not putting any butts in the seats in that arena right now. So,
well, actually, I'm pretty sure the Rockets could actually have fans. Or like, aren't the Rockets one of the 6 teams in the league?
Go.
He's not going to be a fan draw right now.
I'm just saying, I think the Rockets are one of the 6 teams in the league that can have fans at their arena this year.
I think there's a situation. I wouldn't.
They haven't had a home game yet. They played Portland on the road.
They played tonight, I think, too.
Yeah, they do play tonight. I don't know if it's at home or on the road. I haven't looked.
Let's see if we can get Harden to lower his trade value a little bit.
I mean,
so,
like
here's my point. I just don't see.
Okay, yeah, go ahead, Jason.
I don't see it's great to not want to be seen as making a bad deal and giving away a superstar, but there's very few reasons why it makes sense for them to keep him. They're other than pride of not wanting to be known as the team that gave away prime James Harden. There's not a lot of reasons. You
Also,
get picks.
The Nets lose Dinwiddie today for the season.
Yeah, but if I'm Houston, though, I mean, like this man showed up to training camp like 13 days late. He played like 1 preseason game. He's out here partying with strippers without a mask on in the club, and he comes back out of shape, and he drops 44 and 17, and almost wills them to that win over Portland.
It's straight up empty calories if you're the Rockets ownership. It's
sure.
Type 2 diabetes right into their veins.
Sure, but like they didn't have Wall, they didn't have Cousins, they didn't have any of their main pieces, and like he's running with Daniel House and the rookie Jay Sean Tate, and they almost beat the Blazers on the road. I mean, road is a loose term this year because not every arena can have fans at the moment, but like it's crazy.
If any of that translated into an extra dollar in that owner's pocket, I'm hearing you, but I don't think it does.
It's a shame. It's a shame though, because like I feel like Wall and Boogie have enough of a chip on their shoulder to
yeah.
That if James bought in, like that team could be kind of nice. They would be a good team, but he doesn't want to buy in.
Every shot that Harden takes is a shot that Wall and Cousins aren't going to get.
Maybe.
Every shot they take is a lower percentage shot. And certainly Wall, lower percentage shot than Harden's shot from an efficiency standpoint. I mean, theoretically, last 2 minutes, like pick your poison, the other one will kill you, sure. But like over a full season, those guys, I don't see why they would love playing with each other.
Who knows? I mean, John Wall has always been John Wall has always been saying, like, since he got to Houston, like how excited he is to play with Harden. Now, granted, that could just be media speak. He just kind of wants to, he wants to keep the peace and everything. But like,
he saw Tim McMahon there, and he was like, I don't want any kind of rumors.
Forget what they say. Why would they say it? Why would it be true? You have to look at like, why would he be excited to play with a guy that wants to take 40 shots a game?
Yeah.
Why is John Wall? Why does he want to do that? Playing next to that guy.
How many shots a game though does John Wall need? Like, let's be real. How many shots a game does John Wall need? John Wall is not. Has he ever really been a guy who takes a ton of shots a game? Like, has he?
Okay, good question.
He can Dougie.
Like, John Wall takes 15 shots a game. That's what he's averaged for his career, 15.9. So, with this Houston team, like, let's just say Harden takes let's give Harden 30 shots.
Right.
That still leaves Wall at 15, probably 16, and then Cousins will probably get the same amount, maybe even more. Wall is not a guy who's going to, and like, here's the thing. Everybody thinks John Wall needs the basketball, and it's like, no, like that's the furthest thing from the truth. He's a guy who will, move the ball. He's like a truer point guard per se, if you really want to put him in that category. John Wall is not a guy who needs a bunch of shots.
Right, but how does he? Okay, so you're on the court. James Harden's got the ball, right, top of the arc.
Yep.
Where does John Wall stand?
All right, so if Harden's got the ball top of the arc, let's see.
Like, what do you do with it? What's the point of him standing there?
I mean, no longer
like that's kind of the big question, because Wall hasn't been a great 3-point shooter for his career. He's only shot 32.4% from deep for his career, and I mean, his best season came in 2018 when he shot 37% from deep. So it's kind of like, where's Wall's fit next to Harden? But at the same time, you could have said the same thing about Chris Paul. The only difference is Paul shoots the ball better from deep than Wall does, while Harden's doing his thing.
Yeah, and I don't think Chris Paul liked playing with Harden. I don't think Westbrook liked playing with Harden. Anybody who considers themselves a floor general, lead guard, why would they enjoy it?
Who knows?
What would they like?
Get paid to stand. It's great. I'd do it.
No, that's not how you don't become an NBA All-Star thinking about the income. There's just, you can't, no one, not the most talented person in the world, can become an NBA All-Star by being comfortable getting paid backup quarterback type money.
I do know
it's way too much.
I do know a place where he could invest his income.
All right. Let's get some questions. I mean, he's getting free advertisement from us, apparently, anyway.
Yeah.
The clever one, thank you for joining us again on a Monday. We appreciate it, especially after a loss. Harden had 17 assists versus Portland. He definitely.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, those assists don't make sense in the context of John Wall. They're just, how many of those assists would actually go to John? To me, I don't know. Okay, let's go to a couple more. We have a Vincent Poirier and Paul Reed get some action question. I just don't see it. No, especially they didn't make it happen last night.
Now, see, if Embiid was ruled out probably like earlier than he did, then maybe they activate Poirier and he may get some playing time because Tony Bradley really wasn't all that good last night.
Right.
And instead of going to Ben Simmons small 5, then yeah, they probably would have went to Poirier. But when it comes to now, I mean, Joel's going to be back tomorrow. He's probable for tomorrow's game against Toronto. So no, it's going to be Joel, and then it's Dwight, and then Bradley is still the third string center ahead of Poirier. Yeah. So like I don't see Poirier or Paul Reed really making any type of impact this year.
What do you think about the Embiid Simmons cuts from the perimeter Doc installed when the other guy posts up? Does it move the needle at all, and how effective these post ups can be in the playoffs? You know, there's a lot of it's early still, so I don't want to like come off as hot takey. It's inevitably going to be that way, but is it me or there's like it feels like a lot of the same stuff that Brett ran, like
some
like side like a left side right side pick and roll, zipper string up the top into the middle, get the ball on the other hand, on the closest wing and initiate from there. Like I feel like a lot. I'm not seeing anything that's new, that's that different. But at the same time, like NBA basketball is the same. It's generally going to be the same 3 parent plays, like the same the same 3 route the play develops from, like pick and roll, and then a couple other things here and there. But you're not going to have a groundbreaking like drawing up like brand new plays that you're picking up on the spot.
No, but I don't agree that it's Brett Brown's offense. I think there are elements that are carryover. But for me, I'm watching them run the same play, off ball even, if you don't see it on ball 4, 5, 6 times in a row. And to me, that's like that's the offense. When you start seeing that action multiple times in a row on multiple trips, those are the things that are being installed. When it's the sort of loosey-goosey stuff or the stuff that looks like last year, that's more just a transition where Doc is allowing guys to play what they know while he starts to install his own stuff. So I think there's going to be some of that early, but I think there's a lot of benefits to diving and cutting off of the post up. I think it opens up space on the floor for other guys to move off ball to sort of inhabit that empty space where the guys cut from. So you might create shot opportunities in that way, while also sort of giving Joel especially sort of 4 points on the floor to look for targets. You're basically replacing one of those targets with a second guy off of a cut. So I think there's some benefits to it. I think it was a really good question. I think it was. I don't remember who asked it, but I think it was a really good question.
Kevin Gillespie,
really good question. I think, again, 3 games in, one of them was a complete washout. We didn't get to see any of this stuff, but I think you're seeing some good stuff.
The one question I want to touch on, I think is important. I don't know if any of our players are obsessively compulsive enough about winning as a champion needs to be. Oh boy.
I don't know.
Loaded question.
Like that actually is like a fully loaded question. I mean, the way I see it is the only things that we know are what the players really tell us. Like, we're not seeing a bunch of stuff behind the scenes right now because we're not allowed to really be behind the scenes too much because of COVID. But Joel has repeatedly said to us how, he got like a massage therapist and he's taking care of his body a lot more because he knows that's messed him up in the past, and doing a bunch of different things to keep his body ready to go for the playoffs and things like that. Now, granted, talk is cheap. He's got to be able to show it out on the floor. And I know fans were not happy about him missing the 3rd game of the year. But at the end of the day, though, as long as Joel's ready for the playoffs, that's really the only thing that kind of matters for this team right now.
Yeah, and ready includes being in peak condition.
Right.
Sick. Not getting sick is a big one, because him getting him getting a minor cold here and there, chest cold, sinus infection, those things impact his wind. Those are the ways you start to wear down. Those are how injuries occur because you're not landing the same way. So he's got to, and people as they get in their mid-20s, their immune system changes, and you got to hope that his is changing.
Yep.
All right. What other questions do we want to go through? Do we want to rehash the?
Steven says they're not going up the 1-4 flex. LOL. That's actually not true. They were running some flex the other night. I did catch that. They were running some flex. For those of you who know what flex is, it was funny. They ran it for a little bit. They got away from it because there were a couple turnovers that didn't need to happen because the Knicks snuffed it out. But yes, there was some flex there. That's all.
All right. Let's see.
Thank you for indulging me.
Kevin Cronin asks, Isaiah Joe and Dakota Mathias, do they play more off the bench? Or was last night so are they garbage time players? Or are they? Yes, they are.
Yeah.
I think Dakota actually could play a role at some point.
Dakota, maybe. I thought Dakota last night just kind of hopped off and started knocking down threes like they were layups. But
he was like, I'm gonna get my money tonight. I'm not.
Yo, for real. There were so many times where they went down the floor and Dakota's screaming for the ball, like, give it to me.
He's like, none of you guys can shoot. I can shoot.
Exactly.
2-3 years ago, Kai and I would sit in the media section and we'd talk about, is this a Furcon night? Are we going to pop the cork tonight? And that was basically the way of saying, like, this game is out of hand. You're going to bring in your deep bench guys. Then it was, let's shake it up. Right? Let's shake it up.
That was my personal favorite, Jason, by the way. That was my personal favorite.
Let's shake it up. I would definitely say that in the media section. The fourth quarter, they get to about 14 points up with like 6 minutes to go. I'm like, let's shake it up.
I'm like, what the fuck?
Right side of history.
Absolutely.
Do you guys feel like Dwight's mentality has to change in this role? Because I feel like there's such a big drop off between the next best backup center and Dwight that like he really has to like kind of play a little less aggressive because he gets fouled. He gets called for fouls like no one I've ever seen in my life, and he can't have his fourth foul with 8 minutes left to go in the third quarter.
I don't think you should change anything. I don't think you want Dwight Howard thinking about situations and things like that. It's just not his. Let him play the way that he plays and have a third big available, right? And I last night, the timing really worked out where they couldn't. Joel's back didn't loosen up. And
I asked Ben about playing backup five because there were a couple times there were like slip screens that he just didn't hit, and he was like, "I'm like, dude, dive to the rim. There's no one in your way," and he was missing. So I asked him about it. He's like, my mentality doesn't change at all. Depends, there's like, I'm trying to get my guys involved, yada, yada, yada. And I was like, as you watch film, it's like, Ben, you're screening, but they're giving you a lane, just dive, and they're going to hit you with an easy dunk.
So besides his inability to shoot and his ability to rebound, why does anyone think he's a center?
Wait, what?
If you take away Ben's...
Have you seen their backup mid?
Surround him with shooters, they say.
He's not a center at all in any way, shape, or form.
He's not a center. He's not.
In no way.
I mean, have you seen the minutes where Ben Simmons plays the center spot? Like, they're not good. Like, they're just like...
They're horrible. They're horrible.
Yeah, they're absolutely terrible, terrible minutes. It's like, dude, no.
Yeah, I don't think he scores well over his shoulder. I don't think he protects the rim. I don't think he does almost anything aside from rebound the basketball. I don't think he does anything that a center does. It just doesn't make sense to me. It's been a weird conversation to me.
He gets blocked a lot. Centers get blocked a lot.
get
Yeah.
blocked by other people.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, let's Nadir, thank you for rejoining us. Good to see you.
This guy.
Austin's favorite. Are you guys seeing anything different and improved in Ben's game? No.
No.
Yes.
What?
I think he's a little bit more willing to get to the free throw line. I think his free throw rate's up earlier this year. But for the most part, no. But the question doesn't ask any significant improvements. The question asks, is there any improvements? So I'll give him that. But same guy, pretty much, through 3 games.
Yeah, so he's
that same guy, by the way, was an all-star and a top 25 player and an all-NBA level player. So.
I think his free throw rate is up. That is true. He's playing less minutes so far, but he's up to 7 free throw attempts per game. And that was the big thing we asked for, right? And so far we're getting it. So he per 36. Let me look at his per 36. He's at 8 free throws, 3 free throw attempts per 36, which is about what he plays in a typical game. And that's up from 5.3 last year. So I think that's real improvement. Yep.
For me, it's, I mean, dude, he's got to take a 3 a game. Because that's for me, like he's got to show something. Like I'm not saying he's got to be I'm not saying he's got to be like Giannis and take like 4 or 5 threes a night. Because Giannis is not a good 3-point shooter. Like for me, I'd rather have Giannis only take like 1 a game. Like if you get what I'm saying.
So
with Ben, I mean, like I feel like at some point, you know, you work on this all the time. You might as well just kind of pull out 1 a game. Now, I'm pretty sure I know the question you're gonna ask because he only takes threes from the corner, and the question then pops up like, when is he really going to be in the corner like that? And I understand that, but I feel like at some point he's got to pull something out.
I think it was one of the 2 of you that asked Ben about his defense on RJ Barrett. Someone asked him about playing RJ Barrett tight, where most people sag off of him. And he said, well, at the end of the day, RJ Barrett's a good player. I'm going to play him, you know, as if he's a good player. And I think there's an element of taking his own advice. I think Ben should think about that. Most guys aren't going to have the time to think about sagging off of him.
Right.
He's willing to shoot. They're going to jump out at him. They're just going to come out. So I think you're right. I think he should probably take them from above the break with the ball in his hand, off the dribble, just to sort of open up those passing lanes a little bit.
Yeah, just open up something a little bit. Because, I mean, like the 2 threes Ben has made, the 2 threes Ben made didn't really look all that bad. He shot them with confidence, knocked them both down. And it's just, and that begs the question, why don't you shoot them more? And but the thing is, here's the thing, nobody's asking him to be Stephen Curry. Nobody's asking him to be Steph. Nobody's asking him to be Damian Lillard or you know, any of these other 3-pointers like Duncan Robinson or anything.
You're just asking him to be JaVale McGee.
What's up?
You're just asking him to be JaVale McGee.
At this point, why not? I mean, JaVale McGee took how many threes last night? 2, 3?
Or like Kevon Looney.
Yeah, I mean, like, listen, Andre Drummond is out here taking threes. Like, if you're telling me that, like Ben, just take 1. Just take 1 a night. But I mean, listen.
It's a Jason. You honestly believe that, like, if he took 10 threes, he would make like 1 or 2, maybe 3?
Yeah,
I think out of 10,
he'd make 2 out of 10 in a game.
I think so. Yeah,
I think he'd make more than that.
He probably would.
No,
He probably could.
No, the ball comes out of his hand spinning like this. It doesn't come spinning like this.
I don't think that matters, though. I really don't.
Oh, it definitely matters.
I don't think spin matters.
Have you ever watched baseball?
Yes.
Okay, it definitely matters.
That's a little different, though. You're throwing 100 mile an
Ball
hour.
rotation matters. Absolutely, it matters.
I don't think it matters.
It 100% matters. Yes, it does. I'm not saying it has to be perfect, but it can't be consistently sideways.
And what was it like?
Speaking of baseball, I got a question for both of y'all. Do you think you could hit 100 mile per hour fastball coming at you?
I mean, I played baseball. The fastest pitcher I ever faced was like mid 80s, and that shit is fast.
Yeah.
But if there's no tail on it, there's no action on it, and you have enough time watching a guy's rotation, you can time a straight fastball with no action. It's just about speeding up when you move.
Okay.
But most guys that throw 100-mile-an-hour have weird action on the ball. So I don't know.
I could not. I think I'd spend so much time trying to process it that the swing.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
Right.
It
would take too long for me. But I'll tell you this: when I pitched, I always tried to just aim for the batter and never the catcher. Just always.
Oh my gosh, that's terrible.
I was in Little League. I'd be the pitcher, and I'd go out there, and my accuracy was so off that I would just aim for the batter and I'd throw strikes. It was great.
Austin Crow, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, that's okay.
Okay, look, MJ, I get it. I hear it. They made the playoffs 3 years in a row without Ben shooting the ball. But again, at some point, you have to add other parts to your game. Now, I think Ben Simmons is a top 15 player in this league. The things he does on the basketball court are just insane. The way he rebounds, distributes the ball, the way he runs, it's crazy. Ben Simmons does everything at such an elite level. But in all seriousness, for him to go from like a top 15 player to becoming a top 10 player, no doubt, is the jump shot. Like you get that jump shot, all of a sudden that opens up so many different things, not only for him, but for the Sixers as a whole. Now, actually, I got a question for you guys now. For the Sixers to win a championship, does Ben need to have a jump shot?
No.
Well, yeah, because I think the playoffs are completely different. It's a half-court offense. You can't just run the floor constantly and distribute in transition. And when you get in the half-court, his value offensively is totally different.
Yes.
So unless
more.
Okay, you disagree, but I mean, like I think about Stacey Augmon, who is like a 6'8" defensive player of the year level defender, but couldn't shoot at all. Like, you know, when the playoffs come on the defensive end, he's going to absolutely help you. And if you can turn the other team over and put them on tilt, he absolutely helps you offensively. But when you get against the elite teams that don't turn the ball over, it becomes a whole different game.
Yep.
Now, here's why I disagree. Even if he shoots the ball, even if he shoots it, defenses are going to take away the biggest threat, and that's going to be the lane for him. He could shoot 8 of 10 and just make 8 out of 10 shots. He could. They're still going to say we're going to bank on him making their shots because we're not going to give him the lane to attack the rim. And if that's the case, no matter how good of a shooter he ever becomes, why should he be jacking up shots if they're just not if it's not going to pull the defense out? It's not going to do it.
I mean, I'd rather have that than him drive into a wall, jump out up in the air, turn around, and look for an outlet and lead to
that. I agree with
turnover.
That you can. I mean, that's something that he like jump stop or something that he and Tobias could stand to work on for sure.
Again, you're thinking about like a long season heading to a playoff. These are the times in the year where instead of that, go 0 for 7 from 3. Right? Or 0 for 4 at least, to the point where it no longer becomes a thing in your mind. And that's the balance is the more you miss, the more it becomes a bigger thing in your mind. But you got to see the ball go through the hoop a few times to just get over that stuff.
And one final thing, I guess, to touch on it, Doc Rivers has said, I mean, I don't care where he shoots it right now, but he also acknowledged that Ben needs to shoot the ball at some point for them to take the next step forward. Doc even has said it, like, yo, we need him to shoot the ball. But he's also going to come on his terms. He's not going to force him about it.
Yeah, but how much of his offense, how much of this team's offense does he fit into in the half court if he can't do it? Because you're playing an inside out game out through Embiid. So where does he stand on the floor when Embiid's got the ball?
And listen, that's always a big question. I know Brett had him in the dunker spot, and there were a couple times I know Doc had him in the dunker spot. Even I think opening night against Washington, he surrounded Joel with Shake, Furkan, Mike Scott, and I think Seth Curry before bringing Ben back in to close the game out, and he basically had Ben in the dunker spot. So. Because that's the only way you can properly space them.
Yep. I think it's easier to keep him down there, but he's not a good post player. Because Joel can do more things in more areas of the floor. I think they're trying to create a sort of side by side, different side of the lane, high low, inside out with both of them. But it's just not. It's not that simple. Like the snug pick and roll. No. These are like they take a long time to develop, so that you're not turning the ball over a bunch.
Yeah, exactly. Like that's pretty much how it's going to go.
Have you guys seen him? Like, I haven't noticed as many like plays this year where it's like they're giving him so much space and he just turned it down. Maybe I just haven't.
I can remember a few times over the weekend.
Really? Okay. Yeah. I don't remember anything.
Straight up top of the arc, just like guys below the free throw line. He's, 3 feet behind the line, and he's looking to get rid of the ball. And
do you think it's more? Do you think it's more that he thinks that it's best for the play for him to get rid of the ball, or that he's just terrified to shoot?
I don't think it's terrified.
Here's what I think. I don't know if you guys saw D'Angelo Russell go on JJ Redick's podcast, and JJ asked him, because Russell played with Simmons in high school, and JJ asked him why doesn't Ben shoot the ball as much as he did in high school, and D'Angelo was like, I think he's terrified. I think he sees social media, and if he were to go 0 for 7, he would get clowned for it because that's social media, and D'Angelo Russell. This was coming from D'Angelo Russell, who knows all about getting clowned on social media sometimes. So I honestly, I've actually said the same thing. I know I was waiting for Austin's reaction. I was waiting for Austin's reaction on that one. But actually, Jason, that's something I've said that's actually something I've said for a couple years now about Ben. I think he's terrified of the social media reaction if he were to airball a 3-pointer or something like that. I think he's terrified of getting clowned.
That's crazy to me. Like, your biggest problem on the floor needs to be the players you're playing against. That is your biggest problem when you're on an NBA floor. You are playing against the best of the best of the best of a sport that 100 million people play in this country. You cannot be worried about anything other than the 5 guys on the other side that are trying to take your soul. They are your biggest problem. You cannot be worried about even the 20,000 people in the stadium, in the arena. You shouldn't be worried about anything. Airball, the airball horn, any of that is secondary to how difficult an NBA player can make your life when he's your opponent. His
Okay, here.
Not be thinking about.
Here's the full quote.
You can uninstall all of that shit. Like, you can't avoid the 20,000 people.
Here's the full quote. Here's what D'Angelo Russell fully said. This was Russell talking about Simmons in high school. He said he was less cautious about it, but as you get older, it's a little more magnified. He was shooting when he was open. He never thought about it, so that was cool. Then Redick responded by saying, do you think maybe because he's in the NBA and because it's magnified, that's why he's not shooting? And he said, that's exactly what I think. As a shooter, if you go through a slump and you're missing, you can't throw a ball in the hole. Everybody's talking about it. And then you look at social media and you're seeing it, and it just kills your confidence. And that's what I would say what pushes the league, confidence. So I completely agree with D'Angelo Russell. I think Ben Simmons is terrified because of getting clowned on social media. I've said that for a couple years, actually.
I mean, both of these guys have been his teammate for multiple years. Like there's a reason they're having this conversation. There's a reason on All the Smoke last week. They talked to Rondo about this, right? This is something Rondo had to get over. Rondo tells a story about how Danny Ainge, I think his second year in the playoffs, Danny Ainge takes him aside and says, I want 21 shots from you tonight. And Rondo's, everyone knows that guy was happy to have like a 10 point, 15 point assist, 11 rebound, triple double. That was his sweet spot. He didn't want to shoot the ball any more than he had. I don't think that's a valid excuse. I don't. Like every one of
it probably isn't.
So then why do you think he took those 2 shots last year then that he made?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, we know Brett Brown was telling him, cajoling him, telling me he had to do it. He said it on record. He wanted one a game.
Yep, one a game.
Couldn't do it. One a game, and he didn't do it.
Couldn't do it.
So it's completely the wrong way to think about it. You cannot be worried about embarrassment. Go to the park. You see guys that are complete jacks that are shooting 15, 20% from 3 all day long. They don't care. They're still. If I miss my first 4 threes, I'm like, I'm so due. I'm so due. When I get hot, boy, everybody's going to be in trouble. That's how. That's the only way these guys can be at the level that they're at. They have to feel that way.
I literally feel like I'm Paul George whenever I'm on the court.
Did you just say Paul George? Yo.
Pandemic P. Side of the backboard, no problem. I just feel like if you're as a shooter, if you feel like if you're worried about airballing, you're going to airball. You have to shoot with you have to shoot with a clear head. Yeah, I just don't know that if he isn't doing it by now, I don't know when he's going to do it. But I think it does help that like Sam Cassell's. I think it does help that Sam Cassell's there, and I do think it helps that like first game of the season he shot that one from the elbow, missed it, but he shot it. But there's going to be some point where like you say if we're celebrating the milestone of you like stepping into a shot with confidence and you're missing it, like you're just not going to get much better. Like you're gonna hold yourself back, and that's why I say like I give him this year. If he's still no better this year, I gotta trade him.
I mean, you make that decision just a moment before everyone else realizes it. That's the time to make those decisions. I do think that I don't think it's a lost cause. I think he is ambidextrous. We talked about it before. And when you're ambidextrous, your brain operates with 2 sides of your body. You don't have that dominant side where you can really build muscle memory as easily. And with someone's brain sort of flashing between their left and their right all the time, all of the benefits that we see with his passing, his vision, his ability to play defense, his ability to go right, go left, the downside of it is it just takes a lot more time to build fine motor skills. And I just think you see his lack of touch, his lack of feel is a result of just not having the fine motor skills built. Just not having that hand-eye coordination.
So,
he chose one hand to learn to shoot with, and did he choose the right one when he was 12? I don't know. No, I think he's ambidextrous. I'm not saying he's right-handed. I'm saying
I agree.
It's like it is just a more difficult thing. All the benefits that make him great, this is one of those downsides.
Now, let me ask you this. If Ben has to shoot, and that's a basic sustenance of basketball, does Tobias then have to dribble? Because it's a basic sustenance of basketball?
No, come on. That's
yeah.
listen, that is not even that's not even like the same thing. It's not. Tobias, it's not. The way you're making it out to be with Tobias dribbling is a bit much. Like you're reaching. You're reaching at that point.
I disagree.
You're reaching because that is like asking Tobias to be this ball handler and be Jimmy Butler. You want Tobias to be Jimmy Butler? He's not Jimmy Butler. He's a cat. Like at this point, Tobias has to be a guy who will maybe take 2 dribbles and then pull up and make a quick decision from there.
You see the shots Jimmy passes up?
The shots Jimmy passes up?
He was passing up some shots on Christmas Day. I mean,
he likes making a point in big games that he's a passer. He does like making that point.
Hey, Austin, go back and watch the NBA finals. Go back and watch the NBA finals.
All right.
Just saying.
Let's go to some other questions. We're just over an hour, and I am supposed to go bowling tonight. Speaking of ambidextrous, I bowl with both each hand. You know, there's a rule.
Wait, hold on. Bowling alleys are open in Delaware?
Yeah, they're open. We have to wear a mask.
Kai's moving to Delaware.
Dude, I can't even go to the gym.
Yeah. Well, you can't go to the gym.
I don't
either.
even care. I can't even go to the gym here.
Yeah. So here's the dumbest rule in sports.
I just want to get back in the gym, dude.
You have to declare a hand in bowling. So if you're in a league and you bowl in a league, you have to either be left-handed or right-handed. Because of the handicapping system, you have to declare your hand. So if you start a league left-handed or right-handed, you have to stay with that. It's the dumbest rule in all of sports. I challenge everyone to come up with a dumber rule than that. It penalizes needlessly the very few ambidextrous people who can pick up spares with both hands, who can hook both ways. It's the dumbest rule. And I don't only say that because it affects me. It is legitimately the dumbest rule in sports.
I can tell you, triggered by the dumbest rule in sports that I can think of is the 8-second rule.
Why?
Why does it matter how long it takes to get the ball up the court?
Austin, why do you sound like Jeff Van Gundy right now? Shut up.
I think there's a lot to be said for pace of play. Pace of play.
I'm saying stay in the backcourt for 24 seconds, and I'm like what? Who cares? 8 seconds.
It would be horrible if you did that.
You know what? Hey, Jason. You know what? How about we just get rid of the shot clock? How about that? How about we just get rid of the 24-second clock? What do you think?
I 4 quarters.
The
game 8 to 6.
Yeah. First game to 6. Like for first one to 12. First one to 12 wins. All ones.
We could at least like get our nights on after the game's over.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
A lot quicker.
All right. Let's go through. Do we have any other questions? We hit on a lot of topics.
This is directed at me.
Who's Tom talking about?
I don't know. Could Dwight Howard fill Ben Simmons' role?
I don't know. What role are we talking about?
What?
I don't understand the role that we're talking about.
I'm not even going to entertain it. I'm
going to say no. You don't want to bring the ball up the floor. You don't want him anchoring your defense. You want him playing backup minutes, playing hard, playing aggressive, fouling a bunch, which he's doing. You don't want him handling the ball. You don't really want him initiating offense.
What if Ben took like 5 steps back and shot free throws?
What's that?
What if Ben took like 3 steps back and shot free throws?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
The 8-second rule is a dumb rule. It is ridiculous. Let's stop.
It's not. Shut up. It's not a dumb rule.
Listen, don't listen to these clowns. It's a dumb one.
All right.
I hate you. I hate you.
Good. I hope
Let's
you
shut
do.
it down. Look, it's been an hour. We thank everyone for joining us. There's a lot of good stuff tonight, a lot of nonsense.
This is a good question.
I mean, the Clippers version of Tobias was a lot of pick and roll initiator. So is he going to be the initiator in pick and rolls? Because that goes right back to the dribbling, putting the ball on the floor. Like, that's what he was doing.
I was told that shooting and dribbling were a part of the game that had to be mastered.
If you think that Ben Simmons
Here's the
is as good a shooter as Tobias Harris is a dribbler, I don't know what you're watching. Tobias Harris is a better dribbler with the basketball than Ben Simmons is a shooter of the basketball.
Ben Simmons is a shooter. Like the way I see it is, though, he's not going to ever handle the ball in this offense. It's not going to happen because of what Ben brings. So to Jason's point about Clippers version Tobias being like the pick and roll initiator, that's not going to happen here in Philadelphia. So Doc basically has to turn him into a spot up shooter, which Tobias is not a spot up shooter.
Yep, attack closeouts. But
I really don't know what to do with Tobias, which is what I'm saying. Daryl Morey is really going to have to perform some witchcraft to really get off his contract. Like it's gonna be crazy.
All right.
Kevin Love.
Thank you to everyone who joined us tonight. We might have another show tonight on the old live stream, but we've got stuff every day at 5:00. Daily Dose with Dylan Davis. We got a bunch of good stuff. We're gonna keep pumping this out. We will personally see you next Monday. Thanks to everyone, and we'll talk to you soon. And Austin,
You're annoying.
You're a divisive figure in the Philadelphia sports landscape. Just
You're
the
annoying.
latest, Manny.